Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, we are back with another episode, guys. And in today's episode, chapter 32 of Genesis. Let's get into it. Chapter 32. Oh, I guess do a little recap. Remember, chapter 31. Laban and Jacob agreed on how to separate. Agreed on what animals are their animals. Laban said bye to his daughters and his children, like his grandchildren. And then now Jacob's back on his way back home to his land. So Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. Okay. Angels in Hebrew, as we know, angel in Hebrew is malak. Angels in Hebrew is malake. Just like a little, I don't know, extra stuff to know. Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. So now it's funny in the Hebrew. If you go to the Hebrew part, right? So Jacob went on his way and met the angels. So Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. But it says of God, they use Elohim. So I did a little bit of research. Nothing crazy though, but I guess Elohim, because typically they would consider God like as Yahweh, but they use Elohim. This is why I like to go to the Hebrew, because like even in the Greek they don't have this. I think what chapter is this one? Must be 31. Let's go to the next chapter, 32. And Jacob departed for his journey, and having looked up, he saw the house of God encamped, and the angels of God met him. So they don't want to get into it, but on the Hebrew it's Elohim. So I looked up Elohim, and it looks like that Elohim is plural, meaning as it's gods, Elohims. Like, oh, not Elohim, I shouldn't say that. Elohim is plural, meaning as in like more than one. But it's not meant, I guess it depends a lot on how you use it. But more than in most instances is used as a singular. It's like it's considered just one God, the Father. So that's just, I don't know, just like another way of talking about God. But pretty much, I guess, this right here, angels of God, the Malake of Elohim. So, and I think I'm gonna go with, as far as I mean, I've heard a lot of people go back and forth saying that it's God's plural, that it's only God singular, but the word itself is plural. But then there's times and cases where you can use it not plurally, so it's only meaning one. I don't know. It kind of goes back and forth, and depends on the context that you use it. So for this one, I think for our purposes, we're talking about just like the God Almighty. You could say the Father. So yeah, so Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's army," right? So he called the name of that place Mahanaim, which is right over here, right there. Machanim. I think you guys can see it right there. So remember, this even says it right here, Gilead. Remember how last chapter he was over there in Gilead? So it makes sense, right? We're trying to keep track of it geographically also, where he's at. So right here, Machaim. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother, in the land of Seir, and the country of Edom, instructing them. So Jacob's plan is to go back to his home country, to go back to his where his father lives, where he would live. But remember, Esau and him they're not really in good standings, right? Jacob, you could say, stole his blessing, also stole his birthright. And Esau said also too, I'm going to kill my brother. That when my father's time is coming to an end really soon, and when he's done, when he dies, passes away, I'm going to kill my brother. They don't have good blood right now, right? So Jacob knew that. Jacob's smart, right? So Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother, in the land of Seir and the country of Edom, which is right over here. This is the land of Seir, okay, but in the country of Edom. Instructing them, "Thus you shall say to my lord Esau." So, and right here, it's funny, my lord, right? You would think, why is he saying my lord? But if If you go to the Hebrew, and he commanded them, so he sent messengers before him, right? Before he got to Esau, before he got to his land, because he knows that it's kind of contested right now, right? So he commanded them. He sent his messengers, and he commanded his messengers, saying, "Thus speak to my Lord, Ladoni." Now remember, we know Adoni. Adoni means whenever you're speaking to somebody who's you could say a superior human, like a master or a king, or somebody that you respect dearly, you would say my Adoni, meaning as in like my Lord. Lowercase l. Capital L, we're gonna get into capital L. If you use capital L, it's Adonai. It's the God. Typically, you would think of it as like the Son, Jesus Christ. But he's telling them, he's instructing them. Thus you shall say to my Lord Esua, and it says to my Ladoni. So it's kind of interesting about like he's still knowing that Esau is his older brother and he's respecting him, and that's something that you would use. You would use Adonai, Adoni, for somebody like that, for his older brother. So it's just like a little small thing saying like, look, he's not saying like my Lord, my God Esau. It's just saying my Lord Esau. But if you look into the Hebrew, it's Ladonai. So somebody that you highly respect. Thus you shall say to my Lord Esau. And also it also emphasizes too that he still respects him as an older brother, even though he's a lot more. I mean, we don't know how powerful and how wealthy and how rich Esau is, but we know that Jacob's blessed. Jacob, by the Lord himself. Jacob speaks to the angels of God, and so he's a very powerful man, right? But he still shows respect to his older brother. So somebody who has all this power, all this wealth, all this success still shows their respect, right? So thus you shall say to my Lord Esau, thus says your servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed until now. So he's sending his messengers, tell this to my brother, that your servant Jacob, your brother Jacob, said, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed until now. And I have oxen, asses, donkeys, flocks, men servants, and maid servants, and I have sent to tell my Lord, in order that I may find favor in your sight. So pretty much meaning as like he's sending these guys to, come with respect to Esau, telling him, look, I've been in the land of Laban. I have so many animals, so many cattle, so many riches, and hoping in order that I might find favor in your sight. Meaning as in like, look, okay, that's a very respectful thing to do. Maybe we can, we're so peaceful, right? There's no bad blood, right, bro? And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, we came to your brother Esau, and he is coming to meet you. Right? Imagine Jacob's like, okay, good, right? And 400 men with him. So not very peaceful. But see, Jacob knew this, right? Jacob's a very smart guy. Jacob knows this, and I kind of almost understand why God didn't let Esau, you could say, take the reign from Isaac. But it's maybe another video for another day. So yeah, so he's like, look, Esau, we talked to your brother. He's coming to meet you, but with 400 men ready for war. Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that were with him, and the flocks and the herds and the camels, into two different companies, thinking if Esau comes to the one company and destroys it, then the company which is left would escape. So, Jacob's saying, look, I'm going to separate everybody into twos. If he meets the first person and he destroys them, he kills them all, at least the second group can survive because they're going to be able to have time to escape and run. And Jacob said, so after all this happening, he's thinking about this. He's scared. He's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I have all my animals. I have my wives. I have all my children. I don't want anybody to die. He's scared, right? And Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, O Lord, who did say to me, meaning as in like, O God, O Lord, the one who said to me, return to your country and to your kindred, and I will do you good. I am not worthy of the least of all the steadfast love and all the faithfulness which you has shown to me, your servant. For with only my staff I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become two companies. Meaning as in like I just crossed this river, and now I'm already divided. I came with everybody. I came with all my belongings, all my wives, all my children, all my camels, all my animals, all my maidservants, men and women. And now I just crossed the river, and now I have to separate into two. Deliver me, I pray thee. So meaning as in like, please deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother. So I pray that from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and slay us all. So like, hopefully he doesn't come and slay us all. I pray that he doesn't come and slay us all. The mothers with the children. So he's just saying, look, please help me, deliver me, to not be killed by my brother and my wives and my children. But thou did say, and he's like he's just saying, look, but the Lord, you did tell me that I would do you good. You told me that you're going to do me good, and make your descendants and the sand of the sea, which can be numbered for multitude. So he's just pretty much saying, like, look, Lord, please, I'm praying, help me, protect me, do not let me die from my brother's hand. You're the one who told me to come back to my land. You're the one who told me that you will do good by me, and you're the one who told me that I'm going to have so many descendants that all the sand on the earth won't be able to count how much descendants I have. So he's pretty much saying, like, look, can you please live up to what you told me, So he lodged there that night. Okay, so he slept there that night and took from what he had with him as a present for his brother Esau. So he's hoping that he'll give a gift for his brother, all the animals he has, all the treasures, and it'll be enough for Esau not to kill him and his family. So he had 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats and 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milch camels and their coats, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 she-asses and 10 he-asses. So he has a bunch of animals, okay, which is a lot of money. That's wealth. Okay, that's wealth. That's like 30 rollies, 20 APs, a couple Cuban link chains, a couple double R's. Pretty much, right? He's a wealthy guy. And he's hoping this is enough for his brother not to come out there and kill him. Let me see. These he delivered into the hands of his servants. Every drove by itself, and said to his servants. So he's like, look, remember, he's separating into two. He's telling his servants, look, here are the animals. I'm going to deliver these, and you're going to deliver them to him. And he said to his servants, look, pass on before me and put a space between drove and drove. So like, he's like, I'm going to give you these guys. I'm going to come this way with my family. We're going to hopefully make it be separated a little bit. He instructed the foremost, when Esau, my brother, meets you and asks you, to whom do you belong? Where are you going, and whose are these before you? You shall say, they belong to your servant Jacob. They are presents sent to my lord Esau, and moreover, he is behind us. Meaning, as like, look, whenever my brother gets here and he asks you all these questions, say that they belong to your brother Jacob, but they're for you as a gift. And accept them. And just so you do know, he is behind us. Like, as in, like, he's don't hurt him. He's behind us, right? He likewise instructed the second and the third and all who followed the droves. You shall say the same thing to Esau when you meet him. And you shall say, moreover, your servant Jacob is behind us, for he thought, I may appease him with the presents that goes before me, and afterwards I shall see his face. Perhaps he will accept me. So the present passed on before him, and he himself lodged the night in the camp. So pretty much meaning is like, I don't know if when I'm reading it, it kind of looks like he has one camp, two camps, three camps, and then him. And they're all gifts and presents. So hoping that if he keeps on going and he keeps on getting more and more gifts, he doesn't really still want to kill me and my family. So it continued on, and it says, he stayed the night in the camp. So it says, the same night he arose and took his 2 wives and his 2 maids and his 11 children, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok, which is right over here. We will zoom in over here. I have to zoom in a lot, actually. Just bear with me. Okay, the Jabbok, right? The Jabbok is right here. The Jabbok River. So remember, this is the pact that he made right over here. Mahkamani. And then he walked over here a little bit more. And then after he sent his servants, they told him, shoot his brother. And so he had maybe, I don't know where the first people were at. I don't know, maybe they could have been at Betonim. And then he walked back, and it says they crossed the Jabbok River. So it says the same night he arose and took his 2 wives, his 2 maids, and his 11 children, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. So meaning as in he crossed the river. He took them and sent them across the stream. So he took them across the stream, and likewise everything that he had. And Jacob was left alone. So meaning as in, like, probably they're already on this side of the river, and Jacob was over here by himself, saying as like, look, if my brother does come, let him only kill me. don't let my wives and my sons go freely, right? Probably back to Laban. So it says Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. When the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and Jacob's thigh was put out of joint as he was wrestling with him. So it instantly, like, it kind of switches a lot pretty fast, right? So it was Jacob by himself. He sent his wives and his kids across the river, and then all of a sudden, it says, and Jacob was left alone, and a man, we don't know who this man is, but it's just a man, wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. So, I don't know, breaking of the day, meaning as in like probably the next day, like wrestled with him all night. But then I'm like, did he really fight somebody? Like, was he fighting with somebody for that long? Who, what, when, where, why? Like, why? But let's keep reading. But it says, when the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, so I guess he was trying to beat him in some way, but he didn't win. He touched the hollow of his thigh, so like the inside of his thigh, and Jacob's thigh was put out of joint, and he wrestled with him, meaning as in like he just touched his thigh and he dislocated his thigh. So now I'm thinking like, okay, if it's just saying that he wrestled with Jacob and he couldn't do it, he couldn't win, and then he touched him and he dislocated his thigh, most likely when it means that and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day, maybe it most likely means that he didn't wrestle with him physically. Maybe it was more of like a spiritual wrestle, a mental wrestle, communication wrestle. Because if the guy could just touch him and you dislocated your hip, that means most likely he can kill you whenever he wants, bro. Like, imagine you just touched somebody and you broke their arm. Imagine you just touched somebody and you break their chest. He just touched Jacob's inner hip and he dislocated it. So now I go back to these verses and I'm like, and a man was wrestling with him until the breaking of the day. So he was maybe wrestling with him all night until the breaking of the day. I don't think he was probably wrestling with him physically. Maybe it was spiritually, Maybe an angel or the Lord came down and was speaking with him, and they wrestled, mentally, talking about things, discussing things, and he couldn't break Jacob. Because I don't think it could be physically, because if it was physically, Jacob would be dead. Because if the guy can just touch your hip and you break your hip or dislocate your hip, that's a pretty strong guy, right? And so it says right here, verse 26. Then he said, let me go, for the day is breaking. So the man said, let me go, for the day is breaking. So it's about to be sunrise. Let me go. But Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. So now I'm like, okay, so this random guy, you're wrestling with him all night, most likely maybe spiritually, and then he touches you and you dislocate your hip. And then he tells you, let me go, because it's about to be day. But then you said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. So I'm like, what guy is this? What? Like, you're fighting with the guy mentally, then he touches you, dislocates your bone, and then he asks you to leave? Like, how does that make sense? How does a guy who can just touch you, dislocate your hip, ask you if he can go? What? Shouldn't it be the opposite way around? Shouldn't Jacob say, please let me go, don't hurt me, because you just dislocated my hip by just touching me? I don't know. So he said, let me go, for the day is breaking. Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. So most likely this guy has to be a spiritual guy. And most likely this is probably an angel or the Lord in some way. Because who's the only one that can give blessing? No random person, no random human being can just give a blessing like that, right? And especially because Jacob's asking for the blessing. And this is coming from because Jacob's already spoken to the Lord. So, he knows himself that not just a random person that he meets out the street can just bless him, right? And it means anything. So this kind of makes me believe that it was more of like, the Lord. Excuse me. And he said to him, what is your name? So Jacob responded, what is your name? So now it makes me think, okay, maybe it wasn't the Lord that he was speaking to. If he was speaking to Yahweh, because it only happens in dreams, and he's only talking to him in his dream. He's never met face to face with him. So I don't know. Like saying he probably doesn't know what he looks like. So how, it would make sense. Like maybe he was the one who was speaking with him, but he's never met him. So I don't know. But he says, what is your name? And he said, Jacob. Oh, okay, hold on. And he said to him, what is your name? So I guess the man that he's arguing with and fighting with, asked him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob. My name is Jacob." Then he said, Your name shall no more be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed." So now the guy's telling him, "You're not Jacob anymore. You're Israel." And Israel, right, in Hebrew, that word right there stands for the one who struggles with God. I think it is, right? I have it on my notes. Yeah, it means to struggle with God. That's what the meaning of Israel means. So now he's saying, look, your name's not going to be Jacob, but it's going to be Israel. For you have striven with God and with men. So it means to struggle with God. To struggle with God. To struggle with God. Which wouldn't it make sense, right? Because if he was just, maybe he was just struggling with God because he was saying he was wrestling with Jake. He was wrestling with Jake. Jacob was wrestling a man till the breaking of the day. He was arguing with him. He was fighting with him. Things got a little bit physical too. He was struggling with God. And now he's called Israel. For you have striven with God and with the men and have prevailed. Then Jacob asked him, "Tell me, I pray, your name." So he's like, "Please tell me your name." But he said, "Why is it that you ask my name?" And there he blessed him. So the guy did it. So the man ultimately did it and ended up blessing him. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, which is right over here, right where he's at, right? Peniel, right there, right where he's at. Saying, "For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life is preserved." So Peniel is the name of a city, you could say. And the reason why it's called Peniel is because it means, "For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life is prevailed or preserved." The sun rose upon him as he passed Penul. So he probably went down a little bit over here. Limping because of his thigh, because his thigh's like hurt, right? Therefore, to this day, the Israelites do not eat the sinew of the hip, which is upon the hollow of the thigh, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh on the sinew of the hip. So it's pretty much saying, like, as in, like, even up to this day, modern day Israel, the Israelites don't eat the sinew of the hip, right here on the hip. So any part of anything that's a meat, they don't eat. I guess any meat of its kind, they don't eat the hip part, which is upon the hollow of the thigh, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh, and he hurt him on the sinew of the hip. So, and I looked it up; it's actually true. They don't. The Jews don't eat the hip part of any animal. But that's pretty. I don't know. I think about that. And I'm like, what the heck? So, most likely, this is just my saying. I think whenever he was alone by himself, remember, because he asked the Lord, he prayed to the Lord, saying, "Look, I'm scared. I think my brother's coming to kill me. I don't want my wives and my daughters and my sons and my camels and my people and my animals to just be murdered and slaughtered." He prayed to him. He sent his family across the river, and right before the river, he's like, "Look, if Esau comes to kill me, let him just kill me. Let my family go back to Lebanon," or something like that. And then that night, a man came and he wrestled with him till the breaking of the day. And then once the man realized that he could not prevail against Jacob, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and Jacob's thigh was put out, like dislocated of joint, and he wrestled with him. As he wrestled with him. So maybe he did fight. I don't know. This is kind of weird. Maybe he did fight with him, but it doesn't make sense, right? Because if he was fighting with him for a long period of time and he just touched the guy and he dislocated his shoulder, the man, that doesn't make sense, right? Because if he's fighting with him for, let's say, like 9 hours and he just touched you and he broke your hip, most likely, imagine he just slapped you, he would have killed you, took off your head, clean, cut, cooked. So I don't know. I kind of almost think it was like, look, you're asking for the Lord's Prayer. The Lord came down to you as a man, and you wrestled with him for a long period of time, spiritually, mentally, psychologically. And you stayed loyal, you stayed honest, you were true to your faith, and he could not prevail against you. And so he just touched him. Maybe it was an accident or on purpose, but he dislocated his hip. But then the man said, "Let me go." Then the man said, "Let me go, for the day is breaking." And it's kind of like, why would he? That's why I kind of don't think he was fighting with them, because why would he say, "Let me go, Jacob," if the guy can just touch you and break your hip, you know? So he was in no fear, or he had nothing to be worried about him dying, the man, because we only know physically who got hurt, and it was Jacob. So that's what I'm thinking. It was more of like maybe like a spiritual or physical, like a psychological war. But Jacob said to him, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So now he's saying, "Look, you need to bless me, dude, because my brother's coming with 400 men ready to kill everything that I own and my possessions. I need you to bless me." And then he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." And he said, "Your name shall be no more be called Jacob, but Israel. For you have struggled with God and with men, and have prevailed." And then he asked him, "Tell me your name. Please tell me, I pray, what's your name?" And he said, "Why is it that you ask my name?" And there he blessed him. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, saying, "For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life is preserved." So I don't know. I kind of view it as like, you know, Jacob prayed for help. God came down, fought with him spiritually, mentally, testing him. He stayed strong. He stayed honest. He couldn't beat him. He's like, "Okay, I can't beat this guy." Or the test that I put against him, I couldn't beat him. He's a faithful man. He won, and then maybe they wrestled physically. He touched him. He dislocated his hip. And then the Lord said, "Look, you're no more Jacob. You're no more called Jacob. You're called Israel, because you struggled with God and with man. And you have won. You've prevailed. You've passed the test." Um, and then he got blessed. And then he got blessed. He's like, "Okay, you're the man. You got blessed." So, and so then Jacob said, like right here, Jacob said, uh, "Therefore to this day," oh no, I'm sorry. So Jacob called the name of this place that happened, everything that happened, Peniel, which is right over here, right? Peniel, saying, "For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life is preserved." So he did see God. Okay. Um, he did see God, and he won face to, and he and yet my life is preserved. See, meaning as I'm still alive and I'm blessed. Um, and then I guess it talks about how the Israelites to this day, even now and to this day, don't eat. I guess my camera. It's okay. We're gonna keep it. We're gonna continue without the camera on. So then, even to this day, the Israelites don't eat the hip part of the thigh, you know, because of what happened to Jacob. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. But that's it for the chapter, guys. Chapter 32. Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. A lot of questions I had. I could do even more research on it, see what other people think about it. But I guess the big part of it is just like, Jacob's going into his country. He sent messengers to go talk to Esau. Esau does not roll with him. Esau's coming with 400 men to kill him. Jacob separated everything he had into two. The first part he's giving as an offering to his brother, hoping that he doesn't, he accepts it and he doesn't still have hate for him. But even if he does have hate for him and he kills everybody, at least it gives time for his family to run away. He told his family to go to cross the Jabbok River. He helped them cross it. Jacob stayed behind because he's saying, "Look, if Esau wants to catch me and kill me, let it only be me. Let my family and my daughters and my wives go. My sons go." And then that night, he wrestled spiritually, mentally, psychologically with the Lord, with God. And he prevailed. And then he touched his hip. He dislocated his hip. He asked him, "Bless me." He said, the man said, "Can I leave?" He said, "You must bless me first." Probably because he's talking to God and he's saying, "Look, you need to bless me because all my possessions and all my family and everybody is going to die. I need your blessing. I need your help. I need you to stay with me, help me, guide me, walk with me." And then he blessed him. He called him Israel because he has struggled with God and prevailed. And then Jacob said it himself, "I'm going to call this place Peniel because I have came face to face with God and have survived." Um, so Hold on, it's brought back here. Hold on, I'm sorry. Yeah, see, so say, look, I've seen God face to face, yet my life is preserved. Um, so it's pretty interesting. I don't know. That's the way I see it. That's the way I view it. Maybe you guys might have a different meaning of it or a different reading of it and think differently and see things differently. But that's just kind of the way I kind of see it, and I take it, I guess, right now, at least at this moment. And so I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see if when Esua comes to meet him. Maybe in the next chapter we'll get a little bit more closer into that. But hope you guys like it and enjoy it. Hope you guys have a blessed day. And um, I guess, you know what? Let me real quick before the end of this video. Let me go to chapter 32, verse 30. I want to see what this is. Let's see. Let's do a little bit of research together. Chapter 32, verse 30. I want to see what word they use for God. And I have seen Elohim. Look, Elohim. Remember how we were just talking about Elohim? I think it was this chapter or last chapter. Elohim, meaning as in, like, I think when I did my own research on it, Elohim as in like God the Father. Remember, because I believe in the Trinity, so the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Elohim is plural, but I think in most, like, if not most cases, they always use it non-plurally, meaning as in, like, it's just one individual God, and it's like Elohim. They're talking about a single individual person from the Trinity. Elohim. You know, I think I even have my notes here. Elohim. Name meaning. Let's do a little research. See, look. Is a primary Hebrew name for God in the Old Testament, translating to God or mighty one, ones. See, it's weird, bro. It's like non-plural, but then it could also be plural. But I think the word itself is plural. But then when they use that word, they're talking about it as just an individual. So it's really weird. But regardless, it is the God in some way, shape, or form, whether it's just the Father or whether it's the Trinity. But yeah, I guess that's it for the chapter, guys. I think we're kind of getting a longer episode, but let me know what you guys think, you know. But hey, come back chapter 33 to see what happens with Jacob and his brother. Hope you guys have a good day, and peace.